Okay, I've talked before about there being two different ways to throw a backhand in disc golf, about rotation and using our back to power the throw. I want to take a look at two different forms right here that exemplify these differences. Now, I'll point out that it's not really appropriate to call one form bad or one form good. They're just two different ways of doing it with their own set of features and their own set of outcomes. And so I'll point that out here first. Let's take a look at Nit's form on the right.
The discount.
And we'll step through this frame by frame. The reason why these two are interesting in Haley is because at one point they look very, very similar to each other. Move to that point right about here. And then his form on the left. Okay, so right there, they look quite similar in their forms, but this is about to change pretty quickly. So back to Nid's form here on the right side, and what you'll see is rotation. So there, you see the trunk from the hip up, it's starting to rotate together with the disc. Okay, it's all rotating together with the disc. And this form is using rotation to power the throw. And this has its own set of features, its own set of outcomes. And one of the feature, like if somebody is criticizing this form, critiquing it, one of the first things that they're going to look at will be the feet. And they're going to see how the plant foot is pointed more towards the target and the back foot is pointed away. And this is typically called the horse stance. And this is simply a feature of using rotation to power the throw. And changing that up without changing the basic mechanic of the throw isn't really going to produce results. So again, we have two separate throws, and you can choose which one that you are going to do. Going back over to Haley's throw, we'll step through that. So stepping through the throw, rather than rotating together with the disc, you can see the disc is still brought in while the back is still pointed more behind her. And what we see with Haley's is what's common in sports talk is load and explode. Load and explode is simply referring to the building up of tension in the muscles and fascia, certain body part for the action, and then using that tension that's built up to do the action. The clearest example of load and explode, I think, comes from volleyball. So here we have a volleyball player who is loaded. Okay, so tension has been built up across the front of the body as they are arching backwards. So they've arched backwards. They bowed their body like a bow being pulled back. It's very similar. And tension is in the front of their body, and then they use that to perform the action, and it results in a recoil of their body. Okay. One way to think about this is expansion. Okay, so the front of the body has expanded. That's stretched out those muscles. This is called the stretch shortening cycle, where the muscles have been stretched and then they become contracted, they shorten to do the action. And this happens in pretty much every sports action out there. How, though, does that happen in the disc golf form? So, how is Haley doing this? This is happening across her back, especially. So, when professionals when you watch them and you see their arms cross, that is creating there's tension across the back. You can just do it right now. Just cross your arms and notice how tension is generated across your back. And then that tension is used as those back muscles contract, it is used to do the action. And we'll see a resulting recoil here of it. Now, people get really confused because they think that there's rotation involved here. There's not. There is not an effort to rotate. And that's where we really get a lot of confusion, and people think that rotation is necessary or that they should use it. And this is really, really problematic because intuitively you want to use rotation to throw. But if your desire is to have the most powerful throw you can possibly have to have the highest ultimate attainment in your throw, then rotation is not going to have the output that you get with rotation is not going to be equivalent to using load and explode. So loading your back with tension and then exploding it as you concentrically contract those muscles. Then we get into the question, how do you actually do this? How do you use load and explode? And I've never seen it really well described in a way that anybody in the world could watch it and follow the steps and perform it. But I'm going to show you today how to do that, how to go from the very basic loading of the back muscles to the exploding. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump out into the field, and I'm going to take you through the steps on how to do load and explode in your backhand throw.
Okay, as I mentioned, there are two different ways that we can throw a disc. One way that pretty much everybody starts off throwing a disc is with rotation. If we take the concept of knocking down a door with our elbow, it would look like this as we rotate to do it. And as I've shown you, there's another way to throw, and this way is using the sports concept of load and explode. So load, you're storing elastic energy in your muscles as you tighten them, building tension. That loads your muscle. It creates tension like a bow that's being pulled back to shoot an arrow. And we load the muscle and then we explode. And if we were going to do the knocking down the door concept with this, it would look something like this. As we get to the end of this and you see and learn how to do load and explode, go ahead and give those two ways a try just to see how much more power you have from loading and exploding rather than rotating. And I think it will convince you that pursuing the load and explode method is going to be much more beneficial in the long run. So loading and exploding, again, you are creating tension across your back. If you watch the pros, what you will see them do is cross their arms. And just go ahead, stand up right now and just cross your arms. And what you'll feel is tension being created across the back as those back muscles are being stretched. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're creating that tension. And then as those back muscles contract and shorten, our front side will then expand, okay, for the throw. Load and explode might be a bit more accurate, but sometimes the most accurate idea is not the best idea for helping our bodies to be able to do the action. The idea that I feel is best for me is thinking about expanding my back. So expanding the back and then expanding the chest. So it becomes really, really easy when I'm actually doing the throw. Expand the back, expand the chest. And that, I think, is the best for me, at least. You might find a better solution for helping you to consistently do the load and explode. But I'm going to show you step by step from step 0 how to do load and explode with your throw. So let's jump into that. To begin with, just create tension across your back by bringing your arms together. All right, so this is the first step. Feel the tension in your back. All right, feel that tension. So feel the tension and then use it to throw your arms behind you. Okay, just feel the tension and throw your arms behind you like this. So we're expanding our back, expanding our chest. I'll say don't go too crazy with this, because when you're doing both arms, it does put quite a bit of pressure on your shoulders. And if you did this 150% constantly, it might lead to problems with your shoulder. So just trying to get the feel of it at this point, okay? Tension, expand the back, expand the chest. Then what you'll find is you want to brace against that action. All right, so you want to split your stance, you want to brace, expand the back, expand the chest. And you'll find you are rocking back some as you're doing this. Expand the back, expand the chest. Okay. Then we're slowly moving from the very basic concept to the throw. So then we're going to step back and do it. So expand the back, expand the chest. And this right here, you'll find that maybe at first it's not so easy to get the perfect timing of doing the action, but eventually you'll get it down. And if you're struggling with timing, being the most effective with your throw, then coming back to this step right here of just expanding the back, expanding the chest as you step backwards is really good for helping you to get the timing just right. Okay, then the next thing, as we step back, we'll go ahead and turn our foot a little bit more sideways, okay, more perpendicular to our target behind us. So expand the back, expand the chest. And just this little bit of turning, you can see, has caused me to start rotating some. And in this load and explode method, we do not purposefully rotate. There is no need to purposefully rotate. Your body will automatically rotate on its own as you're doing it. And you will also find that it's very natural for you to try to use rotation when you throw. And so that's always going to be a struggle for you throughout your entire form development, is you're always going to want to try to rotate. And so if you find that happening, that you're rotating rather than loading and exploding, come back to the very basic step. Okay, so the next step is to start to split our arms like we would hold the disc up here. Start to split our arms and do that. Load, explode. Okay, and we're gonna let our back arm also still come out like this. Eventually we'll get it down to where we see it when people throw. But for now, we're letting it just come out. Expand our back, expand our chest. Okay, and then we're gonna work towards getting our arm all the way up here. Okay, expand the back, expand the chest, and still let the arms go. And at this point, you can go ahead and start throwing some. You'll find that this isn't the ideal throw. It's not exactly what we want. The flight will be a bit high, it'll be a bit short. So it's not exactly the flight that we are looking for, but it's going to help you to see what the off arm is bringing to the throw when we include that. So I'll just do one. So at this point, go ahead and start throwing some so you see what happens, okay? So expand the back, expand the chest. And I want you to do that for a while. I don't know, get a feel for it. See what the flight is like so that the next step, you can really see what the arm is doing. Okay, so after you've done that for a while, the next step will be we expand the back and expand the chest. But as we do so, we're going to keep our off arm down. I think of it as an anchor because it is staying there and helping us to direct all that force forward instead of letting it be split in both ways. So when that arm stays down there, you have to use some muscle to keep it there. So expand the back, expand the chest, keeping this arm down here, you will see that it helps to direct the force forward. Your throw suddenly becomes a lot more powerful, and it also acts as a kind of rudder in directing the throw. And then so that's the next step. Expand the back, expand the chest, anchor the off arm. And that's the basic throw. Expand the back, expand the chest while anchoring the off arm. At this point, you're going to probably start to go back to rotation. It's just probably going to happen. You're going to start doing this, and you'll find your upper body is wanting to just rotate instead of load and explode. It's going to be a constant struggle for a while until you really get the feel of it. And so you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to go back to the step right here where you load and explode, and then go back to the anchor. So you're going to have to go back a little bit because your body will want to go back to trying to rotate. And if you're not getting the power that you are expecting, that's probably why. And so often I'll just go back to that step as well, just to make sure I am loading and exploding. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you can take the step straight back. Some pros have done that in the past, Will Schuster being one of them, stepping straight back as you load and then explode. Just as a step to help you to remember to do that, or to relearn how to do that if you start to rotate too much, okay? Expand the back, expand the chest. You'll find you can get a lot of power just from that one step and loading and then exploding. You will probably get more power from that than any of your previous efforts in doing or throwing by rotation. I'll go ahead and point out, because people will probably point out, well, what about at the beginning when the chest is expanded, the back is contracted, and then they load? That's just a natural thing that's going to happen as you load harder and harder. So if you load your back, you create tension across your back. If you're just here and you tense your back muscles, you are not going to have nearly as much load as if you were to first expand your chest and then do it. You'll have much more. So as you get used to the loading and then exploding, you will find that you probably naturally will just start loading harder and harder by first expanding your chest. And then you expand your back and then expand the chest again.
One final note here that I want to point out is that a lot of people who watch this video will just look at the idea, understand the idea, and then just go and try to apply it to their normal throw. They'll just take the idea, go, and do their normal run up and throw, trying to incorporate the idea into their throw. I predict that you will not have success if you do this. You will have to do this step by step according to how I just showed you to do it. But good luck. Let me know if you have any questions about it, though. I'll be happy to answer those. Thanks.